Hello, hello. Good day, everyone. It's your host, Nikki C. From Building a Leadership Mindset podcast. I'm super excited to have an amazing guest with us today. But before we go into that, let's give it up for our sponsors. I want to send a huge thank you to Jose Escobar with the Connected Leaders Academy, Patrick Rude with the IRS's Dirty Little Secrets, and also Rude Financial Services, Julie and Noah with Breathe Capital Planning, as well as um, Emilio Enzaniello with the Author Millionaire Academy, which we had our fourth edition of the Spiritual Fitness Survivor, which I thought I had on hand, which I do. Fourth edition, I am number chapter 8. This is where I talk about the grief and of my brother's loss and how I was able to find purpose through that. There's 28 amazing authors with 28 just life-changing stories that can definitely impact and help you. So if you want some more information on how you can get your hands on Spiritual Fitness Survivor, definitely connect with me, building a leadership mindset at gmail.com. I would gladly share that. We have some special value added to these books. They're at $150, but we are providing additional services, access to our community, access to just some grieving tools, ebooks, and things like that. So definitely connect with me if you have more information. Thank you again to all of our sponsors. We are coming up to our fourth Online Business Mindset Mania, August 26, 2023, Saturday. You do not want to miss it. It's from 9 to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we are talking about how do you show up in every area of your life. We're talking about 7 key areas. So look into that. We have posted that on our Facebook page. We do have an event page for that. You can go to Nikki Cuesta on Facebook, friend me, or you can just go on to my events and see the information there or connect with me directly. But without further ado, we are going to get right into meeting our guest and highlighting her. Her name is Lesley Zwick, a certified health and wellness coach, passionately empowers individuals towards holistic well-being as a mindset coach with emotion code and body code certification. She identifies and releases emotional and mental blocks hindering growth. Lesley emphasizes the interconnectedness between emotional and health overall well-being through transformative coaching. Clients gain self-awareness, fostering authenticity and self-acceptance. Her approach also strengthens meaningful connections, enhancing clients' ability to form fulfilling relationships. Lesley's unwavering dedication and commitment to excellence impacts her clients' lives positively, helping them create joyful, purposeful, and enduring well-being. Without further ado, let's get her on here. Lesley.
Hello.
Hello, hello. Welcome to the BALM family and Building a Leadership Mindset podcast. We are so happy to have you and kind of pick your brain on mindset, which you know is my love language. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
Oh, well, we are excited to have you to pour into our audience and just showcase amazing things that you're doing. We actually connected through the Business Leaders Network, and we got on a virtual coffee, and we just had some like high energy uh, synergy as well. And it was just awesome to get to know you and what you do and what your mission is and how you empower um, people with this concept, with the emotion code and the body code. So before all of your business, tell us what you did before, where you come from, and how did you get into this space?
So, my story is kind of, I think a lot of people can actually relate to my story. I've been through a lot of things, as we all have. And about 7.5 years ago, I was just in a really bad place. I was not living the life that I thought I would be living. I didn't, I was anxious and depressed and sad and physically not in a good place. And so when we're physically not in a good place and we were financially not in a good place, and it all sort of tied together. And about 7.5 years ago, I said, enough is enough. And I was not the mom that I wanted to be. I was not the wife that I wanted to be. I had 3 young children, and I was always sitting on the sidelines, no energy, in my own head. And so I started with physical health, and I went to get myself physically healthy. I lost 75 pounds, and in the course of doing that, my confidence started to grow. I wasn't just doing another quote unquote diet. I was really changing my life. And in that process, I decided I really wanted to help other people do the same thing, because it was very transformative. And I started in the weight loss and wellness industry and started coaching other people to do the same thing, not just to lose weight, but to really start to reconnect with themselves in here and refine their lives. And over the last 7.5 years, I've helped a whole lot of people lose a lot of weight, keep their weight off, do all those things. But as that was going and I was transforming my life and starting to create really big goals and shifts and relationships with my kids and my husband and everybody that I met, and I was learning really how to dive deeper in doing that. And people started reaching out and saying, Lesley, what are you doing? And how can you help me? Not just in weight loss, but how can you really help me do this? So over the last 2.5 years, I've branched my business. I still do a lot of weight loss and wellness, and that's a beautiful thing. And I love doing it. But I've really started to branch more into the holistic pieces of it, really into the mindset, into the energy coaching. You referenced that I'm certified in emotion code and body code. I actually have a third certification in another technique called the alignment technique, where it's really learning to tap into here and connect well with ourselves and make changes really quickly to become the people. It's not even becoming the person we want to be. It's reconnecting with the true person that we are in here. I have a hard time when people are like, yes, I want to, change who I am or become this. No, you are that. You're your true self. We've just lost sight of our true self. And so over the last 2.5 years, I've really started diving into that piece and taking my clients down that road of focusing on not just shifting mindsets, but understanding how that can change and teaching them how to reconnect with themselves. And it's been amazing. It's a lot of fun, and it's a lot of fun to help people be able to do this and make these shifts.
That is so awesome. I love the way you actually started it with where it all started where you decided to work on you. You just had enough. And how long were you feeling this anxiety, depression? What was that time frame looking like when you first started kind of, I know you said 7 years ago, but how long did it take you to that?
It took me a long time to get to that. And it sort of built up, right? Like things over. So 7 years ago, my daughter, my oldest is 16. So she was 9 at the time. And it had been a tough, I had 3 kids really close together. Right now they're 16, 14, and 12. So, they're close in age. And I think it was all part of that, being a mom with 3 young kids. My oldest has a very rare blood condition, 1 in 10 million in pediatrics. So that sitting on you, always sort of, thank God she is healthy and doing great. But we have this waiting for the other shoe to drop sometimes feeling, and the pressure of having the kids and doing it right. And, with each pregnancy, I put on more and more weight. And so that slowed me down, and the confidence in my head. Can I be the mom that I want to be? Right. All of those things. And it just sort of built up over time. And when it comes on slowly, sometimes we don't realize what's happening until all of a sudden we hit this rock bottom, right? And that's where I got to. I got to this rock bottom that I looked in I literally, it was my 39th birthday. And I looked in the mirror that morning and I was like, what is happening? I am not living what I want to be living. I'm not doing what I want to be doing. And it was and the tears just, it was like, no, this isn't what I want. And I'm like, by the time I'm 40, I've got 1 year, I got to get my act together. And right at that point, it was physical. I needed to get the weight off. That was the first piece of it. I was sitting on the sidelines when my kids would be running around and saying, Mommy, come play. And I'm like, no, I'll just watch. Right. Cause I didn't have the physical energy to do it. We were financially a mess at the time, barely able to pay our bills, but I was hiring babysitters. Even though I worked from home, I was a stay-at-home mom, I was hiring babysitters because I didn't have the confidence to take care of my own kids. And it just sort of all mounted on top of me, all this stuff. All of a sudden I was like, yeah, I can't live like this anymore. And so it started, and this is what I always teach people. You have to, we all feel stuck. Like I felt really stuck. And the first thing I could do was I could start taking those changes to make the physical health, right? I could not even envision the life of what I'm living now then, because you can't, right? And so my first goal was, I just need to get this weight off. I just need to start there. And as I started there, then it was like, oh, I feel, started to feel better about myself, and I had more energy, and I could play with my kids, and I could do some of these things. And sometimes we get stuck in that. That's where I see a lot with my clients is it's like their goal becomes about something right here that they can see early on. But I didn't let that stay as my goal, right? I continued to go on and let the vision grow. And that's where a lot of times we have a hard time. And I think previously in my life, I had a hard time because I didn't know how to dream. I didn't know how to let it grow. But something shifted inside of me that it was all of a sudden, no, I can have more than this. I can be more than this. I can do more than this. God put me in this world to do more than this. And so that was where it started, right? But it was like teeny tiny little itty bitty steps. And then, when we go to run a marathon, right? You don't just start here and you're at, next thing you know, you're at 26.2 miles. No, it's literally one step at a time. And sometimes we stumble, and sometimes we get off and, take a bathroom break, and sometimes we miss the turn and we have to come back. Like that's all part of life. And that's all how we grow. Right. And so that's really what this has become, is this journey of like literally one foot in front of the other every single day. Like, and some days it's a lot harder than others. Some days that step is a lot smaller than other days. And that's okay. Right. That's how we grow. So it's been a crazy, powerful, amazing journey that is nowhere near done.
Wow, yeah, we're never, ever, ever near done, right?
Right.
Not until our last breath when he calls us home, right?
Yep.
But you said so many great things, because it's so true that sometimes we wait until we're just at that lowest part of our lives, when we're like really down in the valley. And I believe that those that coach on mindset and all this stuff is really because we've been through it. We have the experience. And all of us at different levels, right?
Mhm.
The mission I see with a lot of our communities right now is that we are being proactively aware of that, and handing the tools over to our clients to say, hey, we can save you a whole bunch of time if we just get your mindset right. And I love that, because it's just as simple as that. Like, you looked in the mirror and you said, no, this is not what I want for you, right? As if
Mhm.
you were talking to someone else, which I think it's beautiful. I love mirror work, because that can change. Just that little habit can change how you feel about yourself, and it would get you to take the next step. So I love that you shared that, because those are all things that I even had to do with being in corporate America, and just knowing that this was not all life was going to be for me. There was something more. What it was, again, like you said, you couldn't see 7 years ahead to where you are today on this podcast sharing your story. I didn't know I was going to be interviewing people on podcasts and talking about mindset. I know I love to do that. So it all takes just one little shift, one little desire to want to make a change, and then you put yourself in position to start making those changes. I love that you said just one step at a time, and sometimes you might not even take a step in a day.
Right.
But as long as you're aware of it, and you still have that game mindset on, that tomorrow is going to be the next day. And sometimes you just have to push through it, because I don't believe that we should stand still at any point, even if it's just like a micro step.
Yep.
But that's so awesome. Tell us about how you formed your company.
So my company has formed. It's sort of morphed. It started, like I said, with the weight loss and wellness, and that was where the company piece started. But over the last few years, it has really shifted and expanded to doing so much more. So it started with the weight loss and wellness coaching, and then about 2.5 years ago, I added in. I started a group that I call the Healthy Habit Blueprint. And started some group coaching that was about healthy habits but not about weight loss. It was just habits in general, because everything that we do is habit, right? Or about
Yeah.
85% of the things in our day are habit. And we don't even realize it. So starting to teach that piece of it. And then through that started adding in the other energy work, because energy is everything. We are energy. And starting to learn how to shift those energies, because as that old energy gets stuck, that's what drives us down. So we can do all the mindset work in the world, but if we're not shifting out that old negative energy, that old energy that's holding us back, that's trapped, and not figuring out how to move through that, we're going to stay. It's going to be much harder. You're going to feel like you're pushing through the muck and the guck a lot more than when we clear that. It was actually interesting. I was at a conference this past weekend, a mastermind for coaches this past weekend, and one of the biggest epiphanies of things that I had was something exactly in that. It was something that had been pushed down in my world since I was a child, and it was things that all of a sudden I woke up Saturday morning and it like popped into my head, and I was like, this is the energy that's been holding me back from this next step for a very long time, right? Like it was like all of a sudden it came to me, I recognized it, and I was like, okay, now I can clear it. And I used the tools that I had to clear it. And you can feel when you get to that, and it's like, ah, okay. And it was like the whole rest of my weekend shifted when I recognized that, owned it, and moved through it. So frequently we don't, even if we recognize it, we still push it down, and
Yeah.
don't want to deal with it. And learning to do that. And that's really what I teach my clients to do. And not everything is ready to show up yet. I do this
Mhm.
energy work on myself all the time. Some things we still need, because there's still lessons that we have to learn. I believe that when
Mhm.
you're open to it showing up, it shows up in exactly the right time and says, okay, now I'm ready. You've learned what you need to learn from me. Now I'm ready. Now I'm ready to move through.
Yeah.
Um, but it's been a fun, it's a powerful and fun thing to do, and it's fun to assist people in this
Yeah.
process and help them move that faster, and get them, so okay, what did I need to learn from these things? Like everything in life is a lesson. um you know and
Yeah.
the more we can learn from it, the
Of
better we
course.
can do,
Of
so.
course. Yeah. So definitely give us an example of an energy that's most common in your clients that would have to be shifted, and how can they shift that?
Fear is a really big one that ties us down. Anxiety. There are a lot of tools that we can use to shift some of these things. And so sometimes it's not that we just say fear specifically or anxiety specifically, but when I work with a client, we start to redefine how things are playing in their world. So let's, for instance, a weight loss and wellness client, right? We're going to redefine. One of the things that I work with them really quickly on is redefining what is healthy, right? A lot of times when people come to me, their thought process of healthy is, it's the number on the scale, it's whatever it is, they've got those things. But when we can redefine that out and start to look at, okay, what are the non-ideal and what are the ideal concepts that go along with it? Okay, what are the non-ideal health concepts of coming up with, of healthy? Sometimes it's going to be really hard work, and can I stay there? And right, so they come up with their list of things of what are the non-ideals, what would hold them back, and then what are the ideals? What is it gonna feel like? What is it gonna look like when you're there, right? And then we start to shift that energy away from those non-ideals towards the ideals. And I take them through. I have a whole bunch of exercises that I take people through, and they're all different. I mean, I have a huge toolbox of things depending on the person and what they say, and all the different things as to which tool exactly we use, to start to make those shifts. And sometimes in one session, boom, it's like, they can start at a 1 and, be so far from it. And then at the end of the session, we re-rate it and they're like, I'm at a 10. Like, I'm feeling really good about this. And sometimes we just move 2 or 3 points in that session, and we come back and we dive deeper in the next session. But usually it's pretty quick shifts. We usually move people pretty fast. And when we move that, then it's like all of a sudden, oh, wait, now it's so much easier when we've totally redefined healthy. When those who are struggling to stick to a plan, all of a sudden it's a different vision of sticking to a plan. And so then they come back and they're like, I had no problem sticking to my plan this week, right? And the plan didn't change. But up here shifted, and that energy that they have around it and that thought process that they have around it totally shifts. And so then they can do it. And it's not just in weight loss. I do this with people for business goals. I do this with people for relationships. You know, we can do this if somebody, you know, with their spouse is really doing a lot of this, right? We can take that spouse's name and do the same thing, right? What are your ideals? What are your non-ideals? And we're going to shift that off of that towards the ideals, and you're going to really start all of a sudden seeing that person very differently, because that those non-ideals have an energy that carry over into our lives and pull into it. So when we can align to that and sort of balance that out energetically, then all of a sudden it doesn't mean that that person changed at all, but how we view them changes, which changes our relationship with them. And then when we change when we view them differently and we change our relationship with them, they do start to shift, right? We bring out those things in people. If you always think somebody's going to be one way, they're going to be that way because that's all you're going to see in them. You know, I've had clients who, you know, will say, my husband or my whatever is such a narcissist. Well, somebody can only be a narcissist in your life if you allow that, right? So when we shift that energy and that way of you viewing them off of that, all of a sudden they're no longer a narcissist. They didn't change at all, but you did, which then you don't view them that way anymore. So it's really amazing and really powerful and really fun to do this with people, to do it with myself.
Yeah. That sounds like an absolute journey that everyone would absolutely need when when you're having that struggle with shifting the energy, because we all have a choice in this, and it all comes back to choices and deciding if we are going to live in the muck or if we're going to not live in the muck, right?
Exactly.
And if we want to see someone in a particular light, I mean, we don't know like the back end stories of anything, and you don't know until you start identifying and having these conversations and knowing how your brain works and how your reaction is to different energies in rooms, in masterminds, and just your life as a whole, at your workplace, just you, how everything. So I think this is some great information. We're going to take a quick break and listen to our sponsors. I want to come back with Lesley and see how you can get a hold of her.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of entrepreneurs all over the world, globally, all across the country, high performers, titans of industry. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow personally and professionally, scale your influence, develop your skill sets, move the needle in your business, more clients, more money, more profit, the bottom line, and of course, grow your circle and your network like never before, this is where you want to be. Join the Connected Leaders Academy today. We are scaling massively. We want to welcome you in. Check me out on Instagram and on Facebook, the @ JAESCO25. We look forward to having you join us. Take care.
Hello, hello. We just showcased our Empower to Inspire event that we had back in May. And remember, guys, we are going on tour 2024. For more information, connect. But we are here with Lesley. She is the just a holistic well-being approach for the health and wellness space of her business. And we are excited just talking about mindset and shifting energy and just habits and just everything that we kind of have some issues with today within ourselves or in our teams. And we're just finding great ways so that we can prepare ourselves to be in action at all times, and just making sure that we're making those decisions for the better for ourselves and what our missions are. And do you deal with coaches directly or just anyone
Anyone,
that anyone?
anyone. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So.
And how can people get a hold of you?
So you can definitely reach me on Facebook, Lesley Zwick. I'm also on Instagram, Lesley Zwick. And then I offer what's called a free habit finder assessment. And it takes about 10 to 15 minutes to take the assessment. And then you get a free 60-minute debrief with me where we go through. And what this does is it measures your habits of thinking. And we can look at and see which of those habits of thinking are serving you and your goals and which ones are sabotaging you. So it's always so fun to go through it, because sometimes you think you know certain things and all of a sudden we start piecing them together and you say, oh, wait, I do know this about myself, but look at how it's affecting this, and this. And sometimes you don't even realize some of the strengths that you have. And you're like, wait, wow, I'm naturally really good at this. Let's build on that. So anyone can take this at understandyourhabits.com. You go in, you take that assessment, and then you can book a free debrief with me, and we just go through and take a little, take a dive into what some of those habits of thinking are and how they're affecting what's happening in your life, whether it's professionally or personally. It's all encompassing.
I totally agree. I think everyone should take advantage listening to this, because I will also be taking that assessment, because I just like to know. It's always good to know where our mindset is on certain scenarios, because sometimes we don't know what our genius is, and we're probably paying more attention to something that's not serving us and then we know, and then now we can make that shift and that change. So that will be included in the show notes for sure. I think that's super amazing. I love surveys and assessments and things like that to really kind of identify, and they're usually like spot on.
It is spot on. I do want to say one thing real quickly. It is key to do the debrief, because you're going to get your results and you're going to be like, what in the heck does this mean? So yeah. the only way you're really going to know what it means is if you come in and have a conversation with me, because even certain things, when I look at it with somebody's assessment, there are certain things that I look at and say, but then when we get into a conversation and I ask some questions, even things that sometimes might look like it's a negative, when we get into a conversation, I'm actually like, you know what? This is actually really a strength, so it's an important piece to take advantage of that free debrief, which is why I offer that, because just to see the assessment is going to mean itty bitty to you. But when you get off that debrief, whoa, you're going to be like, holy cow, now I have an action plan what to do. Right.
Yes, definitely. Absolutely. I love that. And what are you working on right now? What are some of your goals for the rest of 2023?
So for the rest of 2023, my big goals is to reach as many people as I possibly can, to help as many people start to make that first little step forward, right? Because this is, like I said before, it's all about those teeny tiny steps. So I'm doing a variety of things. I have one-on-one coaching. I currently have a group coaching program going on. I'm launching a new group. I'm filling that now, a new group for a group coaching program that is a combination of mindset and energy work together. Really powerful. It's an 8-week long program. So the next one will be launching at the end of September. And I hope to launch 3 more of them between now and the end of the year. So to get as many people in as I possibly can. So lots of fun stuff. If you follow me on social media, I'm always announcing. I do a lot of free things, and I'm always announcing like little short groups and a lot of little things just to touch as many people's lives as possible. So, lots of opportunities.
Yes, absolutely. And what is one of the most impactful stories that you have witnessed through someone's transformation? Can you share that with us?
Yeah, so I see them every day in such a lot of really small things. But I get calls all the time of, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much. My relationships are better, feeling better, making shifts." I mean, if we're going to talk weight loss and wellness, just shifting some of the energy. People who are binge eaters all of a sudden are like, "Wait, this issue is gone," right? Because we get to that deep core piece of it. But one of my favorite, actually, I this just happened. I have a client who is a speaker. She speaks from stage and she always gets super, super, super crazy nervous beforehand and goes through it. She has this whole ritual that she goes through to sort of calm her nerves. And she called me yesterday and she's speaking tomorrow at her next event. And she's like, "Leslie, none of that's there. None of that is there this time." She's like, "I'm just really calm." And we've been working specifically on that, on shifting goals. And you don't necessarily realize it when you get out of a session, but all of a sudden these things come up and you realize, oh, wow, it really has changed. And those are so fun. I get calls like that all the time, but that was a client that just called me to tell me this. So
That's
these are,
so cool.
it's really cool and how quickly it can happen. Um, so
Yeah.
powerful stuff.
Good
So
stuff. Good stuff. Absolutely. And you talked earlier about self sabotage. So, why is that a huge, first of all, what's the cause of self sabotage and why is it just ignored? And when it is identified, what are some tips that can help you from self sabotaging? Maybe one or two.
okay.
Mm.
So the biggest things that I found with self-sabotage, so one of the things that I talk about with my clients or teach about is we all have energetic addictions and allergies to things. So we may want a goal, but sometimes we're addicted to the things that hold us back, right, from getting it. And sometimes we are energetically allergic to those things that are going to help us move forward. So self-sabotage isn't even necessarily a conscious thing. It's starting to recognize, ooh, every time, I want to do something and I'm energetically allergic to it, this wall goes up, right? If you have a food allergy, if somebody's allergic to peanuts, right? What happens? They go as far away, they pull as far away from it as possible to save themselves. So if you have it's same thing with energetic addictions and allergies. If you have an energetic allergy to something, even if it's really what you want, it goes with your goal, but you have this energy there, you're going to pull as far away back from it. And that comes out as self-sabotage. So when we can start to recognize those, clear those, then all of a sudden that's gone and it doesn't have that power. But as long as that's playing an effect, it doesn't make sense. So what I always tell people is if you see yourself doing something over and over and over, it really just doesn't make sense. You're like, why would I do this? Right? If you were talking to your friend and your friend said you were doing that, and they're like, just do it. Like what? And it doesn't make sense. That's usually a sign of that. When I hear someone talking and they say things over and over, I'm like, okay, there's some energetic addictions or allergies going on here. And we can shift those really fast. Right. And then that self sabotage goes away. We pick it up from all over the place. We pick it up. People say things to us, or we hear something in music or in TV or whatever, and our body takes that energy of it and holds on to it and calls it truth. And
Mm.
so it sits there. And so until we recognize that and clear it, it was what I was talking about before, this sort of epiphany that I had over the weekend, right? It was old energy of something that somebody said to me as a kid. And that energy of it still sat there. That person and I mean, it was not a nice thing that she said. We were 10 years old. I mean, a lot of people say not nice things to other people when they're 10 years old, right? We're good friends. Like still now, like that's all so far in this world in the past, but that energy of it still sat
Mm.
there, right? That energy doesn't go away even if you've moved on to other things until you somehow clear it. Some people accidentally clear it, some people intentionally clear it, but we don't realize how that plays out. And as soon as all of a sudden that popped in, I was like, this is what this is. This is what that energy is. I've been holding that energy for all this time. And okay, now it's gone. And it's like you can physically feel that go, like you can feel that shift when you do that, and it's crazy. Like the whole rest of my weekend changed because I was like, I moved that. And people noticed it. Like they had no idea what I did, but they're all of a sudden they're like, wow, something's different. A couple people made a comment to me and I was like, yeah, so it's powerful stuff. And it's important.
That's so Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely important to be aware of what is causing you to feel the way you do, or stopping you from your purpose, stopping you
Yep.
from your destiny, from just being in action with everything that you want to do and what we were put here to do, right?
Right.
And
Yep.
I love the way you kind of laid it out about it being an energy, and that it doesn't really exist. It's something that was put in our either our mind, our heart, just our spirit as a whole, and we just take it as truth.
Yep.
But
Yep.
when we release it as being false and saying, no, that is not me, this is what I want it to be, now we're making a conscious decision that we've identified it and we are just, 100% done with it now.
Yep.
Can something ever resurface?
Not once you've cleared that energy, that's gone. Now, other things, we're layers. I mean, they're right. Like I like to tell people, it's like we're like an onion. You have to keep peeling the layers. So we can take off a layer and there could be something deeper that's still connected. It may resurface in that way. But whatever we've peeled off with that piece of it's gone. So and that's okay. Like it's actually good as those layers keep coming up because then they dive us deeper into things. So when we still feel some resistance to something, okay, there's a little bit more here. There's something else that still is that I still need to clear. It's sort of like we're standing in a forest, right? And there are all these trees. We see the few that are right in front of us, the biggest ones, but there's all these trees behind. So we start by chopping down those biggest ones right in the front, and then the other ones start to pop up, and we have to just continue to clear that forest out of that stuff. And that's a life journey, where it really is part of our growth and our life journey. And those things that are there in our lives, they're there to take us forward. They're there to teach us a lesson. Sometimes we get that lesson really quickly, and sometimes it's not so quick, and that's okay, right? It's all that process, and knowing that and understanding that, and sort of saying, okay, but I'm just gonna take that next step forward. I'm just gonna cut down that next tree, or even if it's just starting with the branches, right? Like those small pieces, and as we start to take them down, we can move forward even further and faster.
Yeah, I
So,
love that you said that it's a lifelong journey, because I was going to say that exact same thing. It's just the lifetime of your life that we are working on ourselves
yep,
every single day, every single moment, at every single time that something comes up. We're re reviewing ourselves in different situations and different scenarios. So I love that it's just awareness. It's just knowing yourself and what you really want, and being able to check that, right? When it
yep.
has to be checked, and do and make those shifts. But you can't do it alone. You shouldn't do it alone, because sometimes we don't see what other people can see on the outside.
We definitely don't see what other people can see, at all. That's the biggest thing. And a lot of times it'll be somebody will say something, and I'm like, really? Like, I don't see that about myself, right? And then you have to trust what other people say. You have to lean into those people and trust them and say, okay, they see something different than I see. And the other important thing to really remember is life is not happening to us, right? It's just happening. So all the things that are happening around us, they're just happening, and we can choose how we want to react to it, how we want to step into it, or if we don't want to step into it. And other people's things happening, when somebody reacts to something, it's usually not about us, right? So often somebody might say something and we get really defensive or whatever, but it's really not about us. It's the story that that they've created in their heads, and it's true, but we don't have to carry it on. I was in a conversation recently with somebody who has she's going through whatever she's going through, and she made a comment to me, and I just totally responded, like, very calmly. I knew it wasn't about me. It was sort of a not very nice comment, and I just sort of let it slide and responded very nicely. And when she walked away, there were two other people that were standing there. I'm like, wow, I can't believe, like, you didn't get defensive. You did. And I was like, why? It's not about me, right? I can just send her some love, and this is what she's going through right now. And it was true. And actually she came back to me later, and we had a really good conversation later, because my response was so positive, and I didn't take this as she was attacking me. She sort of what she thought she was, but I didn't, she was like, okay, this is where she is right now in the world. And that's okay, right? We all are in our places. I've been in similar places to where she is right now, and so remembering that when you're interacting with people, it's not a when they're having a tough time, it's not about you, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
that's so
so
true. We have to, we can't take things personal, especially if we had no intention, right? And they're not speaking
right,
directly to us to tell us that, we've caused this. Again, it's their choice on how they're going to receive our message and vice versa. So I
right.
love everything you talked about. This has been a powerful episode, Lesley. You have really just poured into to me, to our audience, just to share about mindset and definitely different tools that I've never heard before. So I'm so excited for what's to come. Again, I'm going to take that assessment. I'm going to have a debrief with you, and we're going to have a
Awesome.
great conversation. And I hope our listeners do as well, because we need to know, right? You don't know what you don't know. And if there's room and an opportunity for awareness and growth, then why not take the opportunity? And we're giving it to you here at BALM Global. Thank you, Lesley, for that. And I'm just going to give you the floor for the last few words. What do you want to say to our audience? Anything that's on your heart?
I just want to tell everybody, you know what? Go out and take that next step, right? If you feel like you're standing here spinning in circles, just find one teeny tiny step to move forward. And that step can be as small as making a decision that you want to move forward, right? You don't even necessarily have to know how to do that yet, but just, I want to do that, and stopping and saying to whoever your higher power, whatever you call your higher power, whatever it is, give me the first sign of what my first step has to be, right? And just that piece, because so many of us are feeling really, really, really stuck right now. The world is a crazy place, and feels like we're having missiles firing at us from all areas, and we're spinning in this circle and we don't know how to get out of it. But I want to tell you, you can get out of it. And it's just the first step is making the decision that I'm done. I deserve better. My real version of me in here is put on this earth to do really big things. And I want to reconnect with who that person is. And I want to move forward. And as soon as you make that first decision, doors will start to open in crazy, amazing ways. So those are my
Oh my
last words.
God. Beautifully said. I got chills when you tell yourself doors are open. Like, as soon as that happens, once you ask your higher power, like, show me that sign, you are going to get signs galore. Let me just tell you. And you're going to be pulled in different directions. Just make sure that you are ready to receive those messages and take action. So thank you so much for that. That was powerful, Lesley. You are
You're welcome.
absolutely amazing. Love to
Thank you.
be in community with you. I'll probably be seeing you later on today on a call. And thank you so much for pouring into, again, into me, into our audience, and to everyone listening. Thank you for joining another episode of Building a Leadership Mindset podcast. Have a great day. And as I always say, make it count. See you next time.